Hey gals, guys, and everyone else, I'm Hayze, this is Armoured Brownies. Today we are doing a new prosthetic sculpt, and it's going to be a Turian from Mass Effect. Primarily this is going to be Vetra from Mass Effect Andromeda, because that's current, but I'm going to be sculpting it in such a way we can do both Vetra and Garrus, or you know, a male and female Turian, because they're both just representatives of the species, right? They all look the same, hashtag not racist. How are we going to cover both these Turians with one sculpt? Well, we're not, because over the next few videos, we're actually going to be progressing through the steps to make a multi-part prosthetic appliance, or appliances. The way Turians come together, I reckon doing it as a full head sculpt is not going to be a great way of approaching. We need to think logically about this and actually do it in multiple pieces so all of the parts can both move independently. So we have the chin, the face and the cowl, but we can have the chin move without stretching down the face, because we're not going to be using expensive silicone, because although we want to do big fancy pants cosplay stuff, we also don't want to spend £100 on prosthetics grade silicone. We want to still be able to use latex, because we also don't want to worry about ruining a £100–200 prosthetic. And if we start using silicone for these things, it makes it even more prohibitive for you guys to copy. And I think it's important that this style of technical cosplay is accessible to all. So we're going to stick with latex, and we're going to do this in a way that is suitable for latex. So what are we going to do? I'm going to break this sculpt down into 3 separate pieces. 2 of them are pretty large, one of them is going to be nice and small. First off, we're going to sculpt this cowl. It's going to take up the entire head, go all the way to the back, all the way around, so it'll just be nice and easy. Lots and lots of little generic texture there, and that will hold on the face. So the face we'll do as one piece. So when we cast it, we'll put some bits of Eva foam to back up these spiky bits, and for Garrus, who has his bigger spiky bits, this will be the bit that we sculpt differently for Garrus as opposed to for Vetra, since they look different, but the rest of their physiology should be fine. And then we are going to do the lower jaw. So the lower jaw will come up to about there, and just basically we'll have the face will hook over it and the lower jaw will go up. So when you talk, the lower jaw comes down and the face doesn't move, because they have these kind of biological chitinous kind of very solid bits of flesh, bits of face. That is our order of operations, because we have to do the cowl first, take a casting of that and then sculpt over that so they fit properly. And once we've sculpted over that, we can then do the chin. Perhaps we should do the chin before we do the face. But to be fair, I am experimenting with this, as this will be my first multi-part prosthetic appliance. So we'll see where we go. Now, we'll be using this Monster Maker Ed head, which is a standard biscuit foam head with a generic face on it, which you might recognise because it's what we sculpted this guy on, which means I have the unenviable task of killing your ADC. Because we need this head. We're going to peel this sculpt off because it's been sitting on here for quite a while. I'm not strong enough for this. Okay, who fed the AD carry? And now we save this for another sculpt. And there we go. Came off nice and easily. Now we're going to sculpt the cowl first. So we want to plan out how far forward the cowl wants to go. And I reckon it wants to go just in front of the ears and just over the forehead. Because one of the good things about doing a multi-part appliance is that if the appliance is too big for you, you can trim it down where the parts meet, which means the seams that you've just cut off are hidden. So this bit will be able to go underneath, and you can cut off the edges and the front will cover it up, similar to the chin part. The faceplate will be a little bit less negotiable. We'll see when it comes up. Anyway, unlike the monster clay we've just ripped off this face, we will be sculpting in this clay again. Favourite sort of clay. Every video I sculpt in, I get a question asking what clay I'm using. And this is WED clay, W-E-D. Here is the box for it. It's apparently Laguna Clay Company, but I buy it from a distributor. It's not the cheapest clay in the world, but I think it's perfect for these sorts of sculpts because it's quick to work with and it doesn't dry out very fast. But as it does dry out, the surface gets nice and leathery, which allows you to put details in it. Once you get experience with it, you understand when you're able to leave it to dry to then put some details in it, but then not dry enough that it cracks, because like with all water-based clay, it'll still crack eventually. So, shall we start slopping some of this on our Ed head? As with most of our sculpts, as you should be familiar with by now, we start with the massing out, where you're just creating the foundations upon which you're going to sculpt. You'll notice I put a little hole in the side for the ears. I'm not going to be sculpting holes for the ears, but it just lets me know where they are underneath the clay, because of course I'm not going to see them. Also, none of these prosthetics are going to go down the neck or down under the chin, because the character wears a snood, so we can actually cover that over with the snood and with some body paint. Now you can see I actually use a caliper and a set of rulers so I can make sure that the scales on the back of the head are in a center position, because we want this to be, although biologically accurate, we still want it to be quite accurate, and things that are biological are never perfectly symmetrical, so you've got a little bit of leeway, which is great because this isn't a technical clay. You can't get fantastically detailed technical edges in this clay. I did end up finishing this mask before London Comic Con and then ended up wearing it for the entire time there. So you can see that in my previous vlog video, and also towards the end of this video series I will do a application tutorial for this sort of prosthetic because I'm really happy with it. And also, whilst you're here, do you have a favourite alien from any computer games or media? Let me know. Maybe I'll look at doing some other alien effects, because this was a hell of a lot of fun. Comment below. Also, don't forget to like this video, comment on it anyway, and I'll also share it with any Mass Effect fans or other cosplayers you know. Now that we've built up all of these shapes and structures, I actually use the back of a spoon-shaped tool to actually kind of pinch at the surface. You can see me going over it with the back of this tool, just lightly tapping it, and by this point we've been sculpting for about 4 or 5 hours, so the clay is starting to get a little bit hard, which means we can actually put in a really nice subtle skin texture. We go over the whole thing with it, then you smooth it out a little bit, then you tap it again until you start to build up the texture you really like. And that's a good way of defining the smooth top of the Turian head versus like the sides between all those chitinous plates that they've got on the sides of the head, which are a lot more leathery. And then I'm also using other tools like a damp sponge and a couple of other different size spoon tools to try and vary the effect. But then you've got to go over it multiple times, so you effectively have to sculpt out the parts that you just sculpted in to make it look like it's not covered in tool marks. So yeah, that is part 1 of our full head Turian prosthetic appliance. These are some nice like flesh textures. Oh. And now just a very quick look at the mold making for this mask. I'm not great at making molds, so I don't want to kind of go in depth on my methods because I feel like it would be misleading you and sending you down a route which might not work consistently for everyone. So until I get better, I'm not really going to try and teach it. But my first steps for this were setting up some metal shim along the edges, which I cut up drinks cans, and then going over the bits that I can't ram the shim into the clay with some other clay to make some clay walls, and then just going over the edges with some plaster. And I repeated that for both sides because of the shape of this. It needed to be a 2-part plaster mold so I could actually get it off the head and then get the casts out of it. Join us next time to see how we do the chin and maybe the face.